Hi folks, now I have something extremely special for you today. You'll have read the tag, so you'll know what it is. Just if you're in any doubt, that bear there is the Russian bear of Shirogorov knives. Now, there is no sanity in the world of high-end knives, because I've shown you lots of knives that are, I was going to say worth, but cost, shall we just say cost, ridiculous amounts of money. I think probably the last one that you'll have seen will have been the Koenig Arius, which starts from $675. Well, this year you could buy 3 of them for the price of this knife, if you could get into the lottery and win the chance to buy it. This knife went for $1,700 on Recon One's website, but you got the opportunity to pay $1,700 if you first entered and won their lottery to be one of the people allowed to buy this knife. Then you had a limited amount of time, I think sort of 24 hours or something, to pay your $1,700, and then you would get your knife. Now, if that wasn't insane enough, and it is, then add to that once they were sold out, the secondary market for these is even more ridiculous. I was told by another YouTuber who also has one of these that he had seen one for sale on a website on an American retailer for $2,700. Now, having said all that, it's a really nice knife, and it's one of those ones that I would love to have. It's probably one of the nicest knives I've ever seen, but I don't think that in any way excuses that just incredible amount of money. So what is it and why is it that expensive? Well, first of all, it's a Shirogorov, and it's designed by a guy called RJ Martin. Now, RJ Martin is a really quite well-known and award-winning American custom knife designer. He's won quite a few, Best in Show awards at Blade Show and things like that over the years. So he's quite a serious guy. So he designed this knife, so it has a custom knife designer behind it. It's made by Shirogorov. The build quality and standards, which I'm going to show you in a second, are amazing. Materials are top-notch, but you add all that together with the fact that it's limited to 300 pieces worldwide, and the collector's market for Shirogorovs is ridiculous. So the price of these things just goes up. Now, in terms of, is this the Shirogorov that I would want regardless of price? It could be. It's very close to it, but probably not. There's another one which I hope I'll be able to show you at some point in the future, but it's just new out, and I think its owner might want some time with it before he lets me have a shot. But there's a new one, a new version of the F3, which I'm really quite taken with. But this is, it's very, very nice. We've got this blue anodized backspacer, and we have blue anodized collar rings. We have Shirogorov's proprietary pivot screws, but at least they, you could use a flathead screwdriver on them if you weren't too worried about getting your knife scratched. The screw at the other end, you would need some sort of specialist tool. Now, I'm sure Shirogorov sell you a tool, and it's probably hideously expensive, but I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, in some ways, I think, well, why not? I mean, it looks good. If you just cover the thing in Torx screws, it perhaps looks a bit, or devalues the look. So on this side, you've got the pivot with the proprietary head on it, and this with it's kind of the inverse. It has a raised bit in the middle rather than a slot in the middle. I don't know whether that's right or wrong or good or bad. I wouldn't really want to give it a value judgment, but actually I think it does look quite nice, and it does give it a the corporate look. The covers on this are micarta. They're crowned and very sort of subtly machined. I'm not sure that they give the kind of the quality look that I would probably want at this sort of price, but I do like micarta, so that is what it is. Now, so on the back we've got this nice blue anodized back spacer. There's a lanyard hole for those who want to put a lanyard on it. And on this side we have a milled titanium clip. As I always say, I'm not the biggest fan of milled titanium clips. This is probably not really my favourite, but at least there is an area cut out underneath it in order to make sure that there is some room for your trousers to get over the hem of your trouser pocket without this being a huge sticky out thing. And this is nicely done. I presume there's a screw from the inside coming to this to hold it on, and I would imagine just one. Don't know if you can see. I'll have a look inside in a minute. But it is nicely done, nice and smooth. And so on this side, other than the clip and the pivot screw, there's nothing. We do have the RJM logo on the one side and the Shirogorov bear on the other. Now, the action on Shirogorovs is legendary, and I never managed to fail to open one. Well, I should point out just while I remember while it's there. It shows you on there, it's M398 is the steel. So it's a slightly poshed up version of M390. So, and it never lets me down. I don't think I've ever failed to open a Shirogorov. They just have such good actions. Now, when it comes to the blade, this is probably why this wouldn't be my first choice of a knife. I'm just not sure I like the line of the back of the blade there, with that kind of hump in it around here. It just probably doesn't do anything for me. I'm never a big fan of jimping, although Shirogorov make their jimping relatively pleasant under your thumb. But that's good in one way, in that it doesn't feel like aggressive, horrible jimping under your thumb, but at the same time it does rather remove the benefit of having jimping. So there is a question mark over, to my mind, whether your jimping should either be, perhaps should be aggressive and then uncomfortable, or you shouldn't bother putting it on at all, because if it's nice and smooth and soft edges like this, then there's probably not much benefit to it, and my choice would be just not to have it there. But that's a stylistic thing, and there are lots of people out there who will be looking at this video and saying, yeah, but you've got to have jimping. Jimping's great. We love jimping. It's just not me. But, generally speaking, the lines of this knife are pretty damn good. And the build quality is Shirogorov every day of the week. And Shirogorov make really nice knives. They make really high quality knives. You got lovely finishes on them. As ever with these things, got a nice sort of, I don't know if it's really hand rubbed, but a hand rub looking satin on the flat, which is just really, really nicely done. Very consistent, very smooth. And then this sort of tumbled or bead blasted finish on the blade, which makes actually for quite a practical finish if you're going to actually use this knife. Now, if I'd paid that sort of money for this knife, I would have to use it, because I just couldn't see, couldn't spend all that money and not use it. But I suppose there are lots of people out there who would look at it as an investment which could well go up in value. And if that's why you have your knives, well, that's one thing. It's got a nice, very nicely ground blade with quite a shiny mirror finish, and that is, I believe, the factory finish. I don't think the owner of this knife has done anything to it. I think that's exactly the way that it came, and you know, it is beautifully done, looks good, and it is yeah, it is extremely sharp. You can feel that on my nail. So just one more thing I want to say about this knife, and that's perhaps not about the knife itself, but it's about the packaging. Now, because this is a special Shirogorov, a limited edition one, it does come with a special box. And the special box is this. Normal Shirogorovs come in the same box, only it's black. But because this is a collaboration, Shirogorov and RJM, it gets a special box which is brown. So rather than having a knife which is sold because it has all sorts of fancy kit with it, this just comes in a little brown cardboard box, and inside the box, I'm trying to open it without tearing the box because I'm sure its owner would like to see the box back in one piece. Can't get the inside of it out, and there it goes. And inside there we have a black Shirogorov cloth, which I'm not even sure it's even got Shirogorov on it. Nope, always has. It's got the Shirogorov bear. Oops, on one side. Got the Shirogorov bear on it. Don't know if you'll be able to make that out, but it's basically it's there. I would think it looks like a shirt and tie. It comes with your free silica gel, and just in the bottom there is the certificate of authenticity for the soft overkill. Did I say it was called the soft? I don't know if I told you it was called the soft overkill, but it's called the soft overkill anyway. And this is M398 handled titanium black micarta. Oh, and I should have said, and how did I forget to say, that it has a roller bearing system. So instead of having ball bearings in that pivot, it's got little rollers, which is probably why this probably has the smoothest action of any knife I have ever had the pleasure of touching in my life. Plus, and you'll have noticed there, this is number 143 of 300. There's not really room under the camera. This is quite a long knife, by the way. It's got a 4-inch blade, but it has this such a smooth action. It's just kind of have to feel it to believe it, but it's just so smooth, and that is down to the roller bearings. Because do you know what I didn't tell you? I haven't told you enough about this knife really. There's a number of things I've forgotten, and one of them is that it's a liner lock, but it's sort of a liner lock. It's one of those liner locks that is somewhere between a liner lock and a frame lock, because the thickness of that lock bar is it's thicker than a liner lock. Maybe not as thick as a full-on frame lock, but it has, you know, it has to have a relief cut for the for where it bends, which you wouldn't normally have with a sort of steel liner lock. This is a proper titanium frame with you know, decent thick chunky liners, but and as I say, it just has such a smooth action that it wants to just fall open again. But I mean, just look at that. Just open it again. I'm not even turning the knife up. I'm just putting it slightly off the flat, and it just drops down. It's just so smooth. You know, it's easy to sort of mock this knife and say it's just too expensive and why would you possibly ever have a knife like that. But I think this knife will show you what happens when you throw pretty much unlimited money at a production knife. This is what you can get out of it. as I say, roller bearings. I'd love to take that apart and show you what roller bearings look like. My experience of roller bearings goes back to the days when I used to ride mountain bikes before I was disabled, obviously. And I bought a Cannondale mountain bike with a head shock. It has 88 roller bearings inside it, which honestly made it, I mean, it's 20 years since I bought it, so I don't know how things have gone in the meantime, but it's one of those things that was just so smooth. The action on it was so much better than what I was used to from looking at other bikes that I'd ridden, which generally had things like just plastic bushings and things for the suspension to run on, but that had these 88 roller bearings, and it was just, it was just smooth. And this is the same thing. This is roller bearings rather than ball bearings. I think Andre de Villiers has done that. Andre de Villiers framework, I think, has roller bearings in it as well. But it's a superior way of doing things. Does it make up for that cost? I don't know. I mean, you can't really ever justify the cost of something like this as being logical or reasonable. You either want to buy it or you don't. If you've got the money and you want to buy it, then you won't be disappointed with it. You're not going to come away and say, it wasn't what I expected. But at the same time, it's a lot of money, and it's probably, if I had that money, this wouldn't be the Shirogorov that I would buy. I'd probably go for a fairly straight F3, which again is a liner lock. I mean, I do like that it's a liner lock, because I'm not left-handed, I'm right-handed, but my right hand's paralysed, so I use both hands. Depends what I'm doing. Well, my right hand isn't completely paralysed, so quite often, if I'm standing at a counter in the kitchen doing some knifey things, I'd use my left hand to hold whatever I'm cutting, and then use the right hand to cut. When I'm standing up, I have some use of my right hand. It's just really while I'm sitting here, I can't lift my hand. I have to lift it. I have to use this hand to lift my hand. But if I'm standing at a counter, I can operate the knife. So, learn something more about me. There you go. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. I think I've probably said enough about this knife. It's one of these things. I absolutely love it. But could I recommend that you go out and buy one? Not a chance. It's far too expensive. But if you've got the money, why not? So, thank you very much. If you like this stuff, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of this stuff, then please subscribe and ring the bell. And if you'd like to leave a comment, I will reply to you. Thank you very much. Bye.